All right. Hi, I'm Rob Pettit, Chair of the Needham Board of Library Trustees. First, I'd like to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. For library staff, we have Kim Hewitt, Director.
Here.
Dimitri Kyriakis, Assistant Director.
Here.
Danielle Tawa, Archivist and Technology Specialist.
Here.
Gay Ellen Dennett, Reference and Programming Specialist.
Here.
And Faith Chrisley, who will be our Reporting Secretary.
Here.
Thank you. And for trustees, we have Carol Thomas.
Here.
Anna Giraldo Kerr.
Here.
Kay Cahill.
Here.
Rick Hardy.
Here.
Tom Harkins.
Here.
Jay Fialkov.
Here.
And myself. And for the Library Foundation of Needham, we have Joan Smith. All right, so I'll go through the intro quickly. Good evening. It is now 7 p.m. on Tuesday, November 9th, 2021, and this is an open meeting of the Needham Board of Library Trustees. This meeting is being conducted as a remote meeting under an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, or the act, which was signed on June 16th, 2021. The act allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded. This meeting will allow public comment by means of the chat function only. For this meeting, the Needham Board of Library Trustees is convening by Zoom app as posted on the town's website identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all participants are participating by video conference. On video conference, please be aware that others may be able to see you, and take care not to unintentionally screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. For effective and clear conduct of our business, for compliance with the Act, and to ensure accurate meeting minutes, I will restate our ground rules. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. The chair will invite members by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. To the extent practicable and within the bounds of open meeting law requirements for conducting a virtual meeting, we will keep the meeting style informal as we do when we meet in person. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking, and please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair recognizes you so that we do not speak over each other. Feel free to wave to get my attention. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comments as follows. Any member of the public signed into the meeting as an attendee may submit written comment or question via the chat after identifying his, her, or their name and address only. The Assistant Library Director will monitor the chat inbox and alert the chair to submissions there. The chat submissions will be recorded and become part of the official record of the meeting. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote, which is a requirement of the Act. I now request a motion to automatically continue this meeting to Tuesday, December 14th, 2021 at 7 p.m. with the same Zoom ID number, which is our next regularly scheduled meeting, should any technical difficulty arise tonight to keep us from completing this meeting. Do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
Carol, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I'll do the roll call. Jay?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Kay?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
And myself, aye. So the meeting is called to order. We have Kim with us for the first regular trustees meeting. We are very excited to have Kim, who started the library yesterday. And Kim, would you like to quickly reintroduce yourself to the trustees?
Sure. Hi. I wanted to just take a second to say thank you for all the warm welcomes. I definitely really am feeling all the support. I'm really excited to be here. And if it's okay, I want to give a quick little report of just what I was planning for the first month, which is essentially the priority is getting to know staff. So I'm planning to have each department head take me around their department this week and introduce me to their staff. And then I'm scheduling meetings with every single staff member at the library one-on-one so that I can kind of hear from them. I also have a lot of meetings scheduled with representatives from other departments in the town, so I can get to know some key players and people that we might have future partnerships with, I hope. I'm really looking forward to just getting to know the community and all of our patrons and supporters. And to that end, I did want to try to put together a public kind of reception, so I would have an opportunity to get some face-to-face time with patrons or anyone who would like to come. And I wasn't sure if this is a good time to ask whether the trustees would support funding that, or if Dimitri maybe wanted to speak to whether there are other options for funding this, or if you'd like to table it for later in the meeting, that's fine too.
So, oh, Carol, go ahead.
Well, I think that's a wonderful idea. As to where the funds could come from, we'd probably have to look at the different trust fund options, since there isn't, I don't think there's anything in the regular appropriated budget. And we pretty well earmarked all of our state aid at this point for different projects, but it might actually not be a very expensive thing anyway. And there is, I think we just need to kind of figure out which trust fund it wouldn't make sense to tap.
We are going to be getting a nice check for state aid in pretty soon in the amount, and this is the first half only, about $24,000.
24.4, 24.5, I think, or closer to 25 somewhere, I think. I forget the exact figure.
So we have a lot of encumbrances on state aid, but we also, a lot of those are longer term encumbrances that, won't be tapped for at least a few months. So unless there's a trust fund, my thought would be to pay for this out of state aid.
What we've done in the past in some situations, what we've done is, because if trust funds are problematic and it takes a long while to get paid for them, So what we've done before, the friends will remember this. What we used to do is the friends would pay for it, and then they'd invoice us and we'd pay for that out of the trust funds. It would take the friends a little while to get their money, but at least the people who were doing the catering and all that aspect would get money up front. Wouldn't have to wait for the trust funds.
So it would be 2021, not 2022 or 3, or when they get paid.
Yeah, so that sounds like a good system.
Trust funds go once a month. It takes a month to get paid, at least a month.
Anna?
Yeah, Kim, any idea of when you might want to do this? Are you thinking early December, and what kind of an agenda or flow for the conversation?
Yeah, so I wasn't thinking anything too formal, but we had tentatively looked at December 3rd, which Gay had checked on to make sure it was free so we could operate in the community room and have sort of a coffee hour maybe on that morning, something like 10 to 12. Very, light snacks and some coffee and tea, and just an opportunity to be around and get some face-to-face time. Nothing very formal or anything like that.
And so this would be with folks from the town?
This would be for the public. Yeah. So any residents or library users that want to come in and meet me.
What day of the week is that?
Ooh,
it's a Friday.
Question. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, I'm wondering if the afternoon, folks also, it's always tricky. You never know when to pick, the weekend, after work. There's always something to think about as a second or spring, and a second event for a different time also.
I love that. Yeah.
Just to think about, because I think folks, particularly for adults, if you're looking at the community or patrons are going to be after work. If you're looking for town folks, then maybe they can get out for around lunchtime. I don't know, so you have to give it a shot and see how it goes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just, I think, Anna, you're right, depending on which time of day, but, during the daytime, you do have a substantial population of, retired folks who come, young parents with preschool kids, and any or all, town employees who might want to pop over, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Jay?
And I don't think it necessarily has to be at the end of the day. It could be a mid-afternoon, 3 o'clock or something like that, and give people an excuse to stop work a little early on a Friday.
Yeah, I was going to mention, as an office worker, a lot of people aren't going into work, especially on Fridays. For the people who are doing kind of hybrid work, a lot of people are not going in on Fridays, perhaps understandably. So if there's like a coffee break, you might be able to draw, some people in if it's kind of pitched as, come get a coffee, whether it's the morning or the mid-afternoon, meet the new director, that type of thing. That might draw some people in, even those who are working during the day.
I don't know whether it'd be better to have people in, have this when kids are still in school so that the adults could come meet Kim, or whether it'd be better to have it after school and people bring their kids. I don't know which, but it sounds like maybe more of an adult thing.
That's why we may want to have a couple of those, try different times. But I think it's a great idea. I think that getting in touch with that community is something that definitely the library is part of the library's mission, and being proactive is great.
Yeah, and I will say, like, I'm thinking, maybe more in December, once I'm a little more settled, I'd like to sit in on like story times and things like that and get to know some families that way as well. So I'll be looking for those kind of opportunities, with what we already have going on for programming. But I'm definitely open to a few different times of day and seasons, maybe to just have a few little gatherings, which I don't think will be very costly, just coffee, whatever. We can kind of figure out those details, but I was mostly concerned about just where we would get the funding and whether it would need trustee approval to get that funding, depending on the source.
Okay.
Yeah, so who would approach the Friends for the funding if we wanted to do that?
They have a meeting on Monday night.
Which I am going to
approach them then. Yeah.
I'll be at that meeting, and I can bring it up then also.
With the idea that they would be reimbursed, they would put up the money up front and be reimbursed by a trust fund.
Okay.
It was a way it was done for a lot of the McIver programs over the years and things like that.
It might be helpful to have a sense, if we're talking to the Friends, about how much money we're potentially talking about.
Yeah, Galen, do you have just based on past events where we've had catering and light snacks, is there a typical budget for those?
Depending on what you want to go to, you can certainly go approach Sudbury Farms, or you can do it from Dunkin' Donuts, or you can just have someone go out and buy the stuff. And we don't have a coffee maker anymore, unfortunately. But we can see what we've got for a Keurig around. I think we do have one down in the community room we can pull out. So we can do it on cheap, or we can do it spending something so we don't have much prep.
I mean,
what was the total bill of the event, the lovely event for Anne?
I don't know that because the town paid for that, unless they're going to hit you guys up later. But I know what it approximately costs for each of those platters that they did. So figure that you're probably paying about 50 or 60 bucks per platter. Some a little bit more, some will be a little bit less. If you get coffee from them, you're definitely paying the coffee price. It's probably cheaper to go get it from Dunkin' Donuts and get the box of Joe.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion then to authorize, 2,000 up to $1,500. That should be able to handle it, right?
And they'll let you do probably 3 events.
From the permanent donation fund, that way, and that way we can have these thing there so the Friends will know that we'll reimburse them.
Can I just ask one question? What determines whether this is the sort of contribution that would come from the Friends as compared to the foundation?
Depends on who makes a check quicker.
This is a
You go either
temporary,
source.
this is like a loan, really.
It is. And normally we've dealt with the Friends in the past.
Got it.
For these kind of transactions.
We did, for years, we did the McIver series that way.
And still do the McIver series that
We
way.
still do the
There's
McIver series.
We can't get a check. We can't get a check out of the town sooner.
And I think the permanent donation fund is a good source, I think.
Okay.
Well, thank you. That was more than I was thinking of.
I'm sure it'll probably be far less than that, but you know, the Friends will know that, you know.
And you want us to give permission to apply for a one-day liquor license?
Yes.
No.
Oh, no, never mind.
No.
Never
No.
mind. Never mind.
I roll out of control.
Yeah.
Oh,
Not
no.
at 10 in the morning.
TGIF Friday, and you know.
Tom, was that a motion?
The motion was not the liquor stuff.
No, was that a motion on the 15?
A motion to spend up to $1,500 from the permanent donation fund.
I second.
All right. In that case, we'll go through the roll call. Jay?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Kay?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
And myself, aye.
Thank you.
Great. Kim, did you have anything else, or should we launch right into the reports?
That was all I had to say.
Perfect. Okay, Dimitri has stepped in. Today is just Kim's second day, so Dimitri has prepared all of the meeting materials that we're going through, and will be presenting them since he has the background and context for that. So the first item to discuss are the minutes from the October 12th meeting. Did anyone have any comments or corrections to those? Yes, Carol?
I just had one tiny one under number 2 on the first page minutes.
Yep.
Kay pointed this out rather than Rob. First, it would be Kay Hill instead of Rob Pettit.
Oh, it should be, okay. It should be Kay instead of Rob?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to take credit for that catch, but it's actually very meta. We're correcting a correction to the minutes.
I think we've done that before. It's been a while.
As a lawyer, I appreciate that. Thank you, Carol. Any other changes or corrections? Great. In that case, I will move to approve the minutes as corrected. Do we have a second?
Aye.
Second.
All right. I'll go through the roll call. Jay.
Aye.
Rick.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Anna.
Aye.
Kay.
Aye.
Carol.
Aye.
And myself, aye. So I will turn it over to Dimitri for the assistant director's report.
Sure, or kind of the whole report. I'm just stepping in this week. The only thing, the one thing I want to draw your attention to, by the way, do we need to do the gift list first, or do we do that afterwards?
We could do it. We could do it either way. We might as well approve it up front.
There's only two items on page 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you would make a motion to approve those.
Yeah, I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, I'll do a roll call again. Jay.
Aye.
Rick.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Anna.
Aye.
Kay.
Aye.
Carol.
Aye.
And myself, aye.
Thank you.
May I ask a quick question about the gifts?
Sure.
So I noticed a large collection of books in the German language was donated.
Yes.
And so I'm just curious as to what do we have a library of German books already, or?
We do not. They were actually cataloged and put into the 800s because in our international books, we have Russian, Spanish, and the most commonly used ones. There was not a collection there. So So it has been cataloged. It's in the nonfiction collection. Hopefully somebody will use them, but no, as far as I'm aware, we might have had like 2 or 3 things in the nonfiction, but nothing like this.
And these are all nonfiction.
These are, yes, these are all nonfiction, yeah.
Thanks.
Sure. So I was going to.
Why are they in the 800s?
I mean, from a cataloging point of view, I'm not. Some are the 400, some of the 800s. They're nonfiction. They're not, they're not any sort of fiction or. I can't remember what topics they're all about, and they are in German. And I will tell you, I don't know any German, but that's where they were cataloged. Some in the 400s. I think the majority of them were in the 800s. I don't know what topics they're about, but they're definitely nonfiction. So I'm sorry I couldn't answer that. I was going to say about the report, the only thing I wanted to draw your attention to is the personnel part. We had 4 open positions, that closed on October. The 3 circulation position closed on October 20th, and the children's reference librarian closed on October 21st. We're still waiting for HR to get us back the application packets of everybody who's applied, so we don't know yet who has applied. I will, to HR's credit, I will say the town is implementing a new software system starting in December, where managers and assistant managers will have direct access to applications. So in the future, going forward, as people apply, Kim and I should be able to look right in and see who's applying, what's there, what the progress is, are there going to be all of the departments across town. So for right now, this is still a vestige of the old system where we have to wait for HR to put it all together for us and then forward us the application packets of everybody who's applied. I will say about the circulation positions, those, because they were non-MLS, were advertised on Indeed.com as well. I posted them on all the library websites. The town has posting. And then the reference librarian position for children's, we don't put that one on Indeed because we get a pretty good batch of people when we advertise it at Simmons and the MBLC website. 2 things I wanted to add. So I don't know if any of you know Janet Krowecki. You might know her. Her last day is actually going to be tomorrow. She let us know, I believe her and her husband are relocating to Florida. So she had been hopeful to not move, but apparently they made a joint decision that they will be moving sooner rather than later. So that position is opening, and I'll be posting that. Her last day is, like I said, tomorrow. So I'll be posting that through HR next week. And then yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what position. I don't know her.
It's a circulation clerk position.
Oh, it's a clerk.
She's been, yes, yeah.
Her name is Janet?
Janet Krowecki, yeah. Also, there's another gentleman, Sebastian Seltzer, who you might know. He works full-time in Brookline. He was working part-time for us for a number of years. He also recently left his position. So those 2 positions that we'll be posting, and we possibly have a page or 2 that we'll be posting as well that we just haven't filled up till now. And Kim and I will work on that. So that's where we are with all the positions that are open and soon to be open right now. And as we progress through all that, we'll let you know. Kim will be involved with all the interviewing because she wants to, see our process and see how we do that. And other than that, it's been a pretty standard, as you can see from, Children's has done a lot, a pretty standard report. Are there any questions on any of it? Yep.
Rob,
yes.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that during our process, when we were working on the selection committee for the director, it did come up that some of the part-time or lower level positions are often opportunities, and I know you know this, for diversity and inclusion. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate that.
That absolutely, and Kim and I will be, going forwards, we'll see where else we can post these positions to do that. And Indeed.com does help because that gets posted all over the place.
Great.
Anything else on the main portion of the director's report?
I have a question.
Yes.
So if I understand it correctly, there are 6 positions, two that you just mentioned, and 4 vacancies, right? So
Yes.
altogether
Yeah. So
6.
6.
So
Yeah. So 4
I'm
that
curious.
we.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So, so 6 altogether. So how is coverage being handled? Are there any challenges with coverage?
There are challenges in children's because of the Saturdays and the Sundays. So we're hoping to have that one, to get that one up and going as quickly as possible. Circulation is holding pretty steady. They're doing pretty well. So I mean, obviously we'd like to hire those as quickly as we can, but they're managing with what they've got right now. So they're all critical to fill, but children's probably the one I'm a little more concerned with at the moment.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Great. In that case, unless there's anything else under the main portion of the director's report, we can move on to building and grounds. And it would never be a building and grounds report without some sort of elevator issue.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Any progress with that, or?
Yes. The back elevator, they've got the parts from Germany or wherever they had to come from. It'll take them 2 to 3 days to install them. I know I saw some movement there today, so that should be getting fixed hopefully by the beginning of next week. Knock on wood, the front elevator has been just fine and operating okay. So we're hoping by mid next week that both elevators will be operating just fine.
Nice. Anything else of note that's come up with the facility?
Nothing of any particular note. The elevators have been the main concern at this point.
Yeah.
Carol?
Is there work on the cupola going on now, or?
Yes, that is ongoing. They're working on it right now.
Is it intrusive in any way? Is there noise?
Sometimes, sometimes, but not. I mean, they have one of those lifts like a cherry picker, and some days, depending on what they're doing, it's somewhat intrusive, especially to us up on the 3rd floor. I hope it's not intrusive on the first and on the other floors. I know that Angel was showing me today that there's some trim up there that he's hoping he's going to talk to Wayne and Wayne and Shannon. Sorry, Shannon. They're going to come around tomorrow, I think, and there's some trim that could be painted. So Angel is hoping that as they finish up this work, they can also. Angel went up on the lift today. He had some great pictures, Needham, and of the area. But also he was taking pictures of the trim in the air around it. So we're hoping that we can get that done, I mean, as well. It's not visible to the naked eye, but I mean, with his pictures, you could see that there's cracks in the paint and there's other things that could be addressed while they're doing this work with the cupola.
And before it's too cold to do them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Danielle?
Thank you.
Do we know when the project will be finished? Not that I don't love the lovely sound.
You know, I don't know. I forgot to ask Angel that. Or I can find out from him and let everybody know.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
I did notice today they had parked it kind of in front of the library, which was a little concerning.
Yeah. But I'll ask Angel and let everybody know.
Great.
And it looks like the lighting situation in the children's room is still that's still ongoing.
That's still ongoing. They're still working on that. Wayne is right. I mean, they're it's on their list of things to do, and they're working on it. But it's going to take a little bit of time.
I have a question about that. When you say it's on their list, is there a specific plan as to what they're going to do, or on their list is to figure out a plan to correct the situation?
I thought they were going to replace, they put a couple of lights as examples, what they were going to do. And I think they're going to replace all the rest of the lights to match those 2 lights back there. If you've seen.
I'm just not, I think I'll be interested to see whether simply changing the kind of bulb will fix what I see as a, as a serious issue, which is a very dark room in the back of the children's area.
Yeah. I think it's the fixture too, though, isn't it, Jay? Isn't it the fixture they've changed? They put a couple of fixtures with new.
I'm not sure, but I was in, last week or something, and I haven't seen any noticeable difference. So I don't know what the plan is, but
okay.
I wasn't sure if what sort of thought has been given to fix it.
I'll ask Angel about that and get some more information to you about that. But I know that, the intention is to replace the rest of those lights. I don't know the timetable for that.
Okay. Anything else on building and grounds? All right. In that case, let's move on to the financial reports. And it looks like we're right on track for where we should be this time of year.
Yep.
Anything noteworthy, anything to discuss under the financial report?
I had a question.
Yeah.
With the state aid account.
Yep.
Because we voted last meeting to spend up to $25,000 for security cameras, additional ones and a new panel, there wasn't enough money in the account, it looked like. So you had to change some things. Are they things that are, I mean, some of these expenses are ones that, you know, like a space study, we don't have anybody even to do it yet. So we're not really going to need that money yet. But I saw the ones that you took the money out of were the program expenses and movie license renewal and account, that line, and also the money that was left in the new director consultant line. Have we now paid everything that will be due to the consultant for?
Yes, yes, we have. And also, Carol, since you bring this up, and I was going to talk about this later in the meeting, but the security cameras, we have a little glitch there, and the town feels that it is not for us to do that because the building belongs to the town. So we have to go put it through Cecilia Simchak, who is the director of finance for facilities and for buildings. So it'll be a similar process to what we're doing with the phones. Unfortunately, I don't know what the timetable will be on that. Kim and I are going to work on contacting Cecilia and doing that, but I don't think we'll end up paying for that because I think the town is going to take that expense on since they feel that it's their building and they're the ones that need to control that. So what I'm getting at is the money that you folks voted for the security cameras may not end up getting spent on that project.
Is the town aware of sort of the acute need for these cameras? I know that sometimes it can be a process, but you know, this really is a priority for staff, it sounds like. Kim and I will communicate that to Cecilia and have a meeting with her to discuss this. And as I have more information from that, I'll certainly let you know. But this came up at the budget meeting that Ann and I had gone to with Dave, and he basically told us to stop because it fell into a different category. It wasn't something that we could just get the 3 quotes on and move forward with the state aid money. So unfortunately, that puts it back a little bit. But if you want to look at this as a positive, I don't think it's going to be us ending up spending the money on that. I hope the excellent work that you did in laying the groundwork for this will make it easier for the town. Tom?
And we voted to have this out of state aid, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can you just tell me once again what Cecilia's, what is her job? I know she does phones for building maintenance. She's in charge of.
She's the director of finance and administration for public services. So she's located at PSAB. So she does the finance piece of all this, finance and administration.
For all the different public services.
Yep.
I see. Okay.
Public buildings, yeah.
Okay.
So if it doesn't come out of state aid, what category of funding would it likely be come from? And does that need to be put into the next year's budget, or how would that work?
You know, I can't answer that right now. I don't know until we have a meeting with Cecilia and I get a clearer. I know for the phones, and I'm looking at the paperwork that we put through for that. I mean, the phones are going to be in the capital budget in the out years, so going further out. So I don't know what category. I'll find out from her and let you know. But
so it might be our expense, even a library expense, whether it's capital or it's not building maintenance. Or
I think it is building maintenance. I don't think it's going to be our expense.
So it's not in any of our budgets. It's not our capital budget.
It won't be in our capital budget, for example, for the phones. So yeah, I suspect the same. I'll verify it, but I suspect the same for the security cameras too.
Okay. Thank you.
because the way it was explained to us is like, you know, we don't own the building, the town owns the building, and they're the ones responsible. They have to pursue these building improvements or enhancements.
Actually, related question for you, Dimitri. The timing of our meeting with FinCom. I know that you and Ann had met with Dave. Has a date been set for that FinCom meeting?
Not that, I don't think so. Kim, do you remember that list of, that document with list of meetings? I unfortunately left that on my desk at work. I don't think FinCom was listed on there.
It's not. I have some meetings with them to get a handle on our budget and everything like that, but FinCom wasn't on there for like a specific meeting for us.
Yeah.
To go in front of them.
Because
we've
done
done a general listing of January and February being, it just sort of said, this is the time period in which those meetings will happen.
Yeah. Okay. Because we'll, as trustees, we'll want to be there. We'll want to kind of have our game ready, especially as it relates to some of the requests that we have and some of the rationales for those requests, especially for getting some of these things like overdrive and canopy moved from state aid to the regular budget. And what triggered my thought on that was, if this $25,000 is not being spent on library security cameras, it would be good if we can identify, at least conceptually, some of the things that it might be spent on, because one of the first things FinCom will ask us is, if we move these things from state aid to something else, what are you going to use that freed up state aid for? But Rick?
Yeah, well, one of the things we would want to do is use, as we've talked about, use it for getting a third party to come in and analyze the staffing and the structure of the staffing. But we haven't gotten a quote as to what that would cost, but that would be a potential use of state aid. Right.
And also, we have right now $7,000 budgeted for a strategic plan consultant. I'm not sure it would necessarily. Oh, Jay, go ahead. That's kind of your bailiwick.
No, I was just, besides, I'm sorry, I wasn't even going to head there, but I was going to mention, in addition to the staffing study, is there going to be a space study as well that we were anticipating?
So we had budgeted $12,000 for the Collins Center for that space study, and the individual at the Collins Center who really specialized in those is no longer with them. So we still have it budgeted. We have that $12,000 set aside, but it has not been spent, I believe. And that could be done either in parallel with or as part of our strategic plan. Was one thought, that as well as the staffing, because really all of these things ultimately intertwine with the strategic plan.
Yeah.
Whether or not we go with one consultant for all three or have different consultants for each of those. But yeah, those three studies are definitely, a significant potential use for state aid. Great. Do we have anything else on the financial report? All right. In that case, let's move on to the statistical report. Dimitri, looked like another great month.
Yeah.
Can I ask you one other thing on the,
sure.
Maybe Tom even could speak to this. The library trust funds sheet once a year posts the both the interest and the gain or loss in the funds, I suppose, based on what investments the town has made, with all the collective funds. But then we typically vote. Tom, can you just tell me how much we try to spend and how much we set aside to grow the fund? Do you remember?
It's a certain percentage. I forget. I'm
like
sure 10, if I look back how much we were.
10% or something?
10%. I think it's 10%.
Yeah, okay.
That sounds right, yes.
So 10%.
We vote to do that every year,
So we haven't done that, but maybe next meeting we should think about voting on that so that those funds can be.
I forget when we usually did it. I don't remember. And I figure I'll look through my minutes.
But, through mine as well.
Yeah, I'm hazy on that.
I mean, it's a vote that can be changed any time. So, but it sets the policy what we'd like to do. But we could always, you don't, well, yeah.
So are these funds expendable in the far right column on this library trust funds? Do those do those figures reflect what has been our policy of setting aside a certain percentage? I didn't really calculate.
Yes, except for a few of them have restrictions. For instance, the Charlie Henderson's fund he put a restriction into it that we can't spend anything until it reaches a certain, we're limited to what we can spend until it reaches a certain point. I don't know if it's $1 million or whatever it is. I forget what
I think it's $1 million. I think
so.
Which is going to be a while. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a while. Yeah.
There was a summary of the different trust funds that was circulated as meeting materials at some point in the past few months.
Yeah.
That would be a helpful guide for that. But I can go back and look at prior minutes to see if we can find, the exact motion. If not, we can always just come up with our own motion at the next meeting.
606. I'm just. Okay, I guess we should come back to that, though. I really, I didn't look carefully enough to see how these numbers on the right column came out of, the gain and or loss and interest. So.
Right. I think the total number may be incorrect in that. The funds expendable, because the total balance expendable is 123. And then there's some encumbrances on that, and then you get a higher number at the end.
It doesn't look plausible.
Right. So I'm not sure, maybe the formula just goes the opposite way or something.
Yeah.
And we should be deducting those amounts rather than adding them.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's intuitively it's wrong. Yeah, not quite the right direction.
Unless I'm reading it the wrong way.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we'll come back to that next meeting. Or
I think we should come back to it next time.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Great. Sure. So statistical report, Dimitri, anything notable to mention in that?
No, nothing. Our numbers are going up. You notice some of the E stuff has gone down, but then again, we get more in person, more people in the library. So, but overall, it looks pretty good, I think.
I think it's a great story to tell that our circulation numbers, and we mentioned this at past meetings as well, our circulation numbers have bounced back as quickly as they have. I mean, we've only been open since June.
Yeah.
And we're back to above pre-COVID levels. I think another really interesting story in this, I don't think we have an explicit breakdown between print and non-print. I know that we've got books and audio and video, but sometimes, at various events, I hear people talking about, the library of the future is all electronic. Nobody's going to go into the stacks anymore. And I was telling them, no, actually, our circulation of print materials is pretty steady and even growing to an extent. So it's always, I feel like that's a good message to get out there that yes, we are increasing our electronic materials. That is a big part of the library of the future, but print is not dead by any stretch of the imagination.
It's not dead. It's like any other industry. We're adding lines of business, and that's what the e-materials are. We're still maintaining our traditional because that's still very popular. And it's no different than auto companies that sell internal combustion engine vehicles and are adding continuously lines of electric vehicles. So, that's
good metaphor.
What's that?
Good metaphor.
Thanks. I hope so. I think that's all we're doing. We're adding lines of business.
It's comparable also to the print publishing business in which books are selling, still along with ebooks and everything else.
Yeah.
Now with a paper shortage this year, let's see where that all goes over the next few months. So I think, books will still be published, but I think, you might, what I'm reading and hearing, and many of us in the field see this, is you might get less printed nonfiction books. Like, for example, a book on how to build a deck. If there's a paper shortage, they're probably going to want to devote the paper to popular fiction, popular bestsellers, and push things like that onto an electronic platform. So we'll see. That might be a tipping point. Kay, you had a question. I'm sorry.
Oh, so I'm still on the statistical report here, but I'm looking at the website hits, and I am a little puzzled as to why they are dropping, since we have a new website. It's compared to last September was 14,000, this September was 8,000. And so do we have any idea what that's about? And also seems to me that promoting our new website is something that we need to do. We had talked about a bookmark, and do we have any idea why it's dropped so much?
So it's actually using a different formula. So we can't really compare the old statistics from the old website to the new website, because it's a little like comparing apples and oranges.
Okay.
Just because of the way the new one is set up.
Well,
okay.
Don't forget the old one is also tied into the town's website.
Correct.
Independently, it's our own website. So it's not tied into the town. Like, people don't get to it by going through the town. So it doesn't count other factors that it used to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anna?
Yeah. How do you, what do you define as a hit? Every time there is a link that is clicked? Is that what that a hit means?
So it's actually statistics integrated into the website by Sterling, which is integrated in via WordPress. So I believe it's every time the main page is loaded.
Is accessed. So once they're already accessed past the second or third pages or links, they don't count that.
Correct.
Okay.
If we want a good apples to apples comparison, we, as a baseline, we take the first month that the new website went live. Presumably there would be some uptick because people are interested in it, and we had social media out, but that's probably, and we can compare it month over month, but that might be a good starting point to see, how many people looked at our website at the beginning, and we can, track where it goes from there. We talked about doing some bookmarks as well. Was there any progress with getting those in?
I don't think we've got those yet, but we are. I will check on those.
Okay, because that's a great tie-in. Everybody's taking out books. It's wonderful to have a bookmark, and that might be a good opportunity. We
have another ancillary little issue with our business cards, that we have so many of them, but they have our old website on there. So we were talking about it with Kim today. We need to look into how do we replace them with our current website on there.
The old website will forward to the new one, but.
Okay, yeah.
Carol?
I was just going to point out that there has been an uptick in the people count, or the number of visits to the library went from 14,500 or so last month to 17,000 and a little in this report, and the use of the.
Did we lose you, Carol?
I don't know.
Here.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yep.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I was going to say there were some increases, even though the website, which I think probably is an apples to oranges problem, but the people counter, the velocity, which is charging various devices, that almost double that use last, in this report over the previous month. The study room use went up from like 175 to, almost 270 people using it. So some of these numbers are going up nicely. The ones that aren't, I thought it was interesting, the Chromebook and hotspot checkouts. The hotspots are kind of level from the last report, and the Chromebook, there were 2 last month, 1 this month. So people don't seem maybe to need those. I don't.
Well, now that we've been open and we have our desktop computers available, people can come in and do their computing so that, when they weren't available before,
I would 100% agree. I would also say that correlates to our website hits is we're not doing, something like curbside. People aren't needing to use the website as much to access us since we are fully open.
Mm-hmm.
So they are coming in, they are being able to charge their cell phones, they're being able to use our desktop computers and use our Wi-Fi and all of our wonderful resources.
Do we have a bunch of Chromebooks then that are just lying around that maybe somebody else needs to use for like a staff person, or wouldn't they be suitable? I don't know, to work remotely or to, for an evening meeting, or is there?
Yep, all staff have access to a number of different laptops and Chromebooks.
Yeah, okay. So they could use them if they needed these same ones. They could just take.
If they needed to, but each department has an ample supply as well.
I see. All right. So we're probably a little oversupplied for the moment, is what you're saying. Chromebooks, yeah.
I would say we have an adequate supply, and I think it dips and wanes based on what we're seeing in the environment.
Okay. All right. That's all. I'm sorry to diverge there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else on the statistical report? All right, in that case, let's move on to new business, which actually is more of a placeholder. We don't have anything specifically under new business, so we'll skip straight to old business. The first item to mention under old business is the website. Kay, would you like to report on the website meeting that we had in October?
Sure. So the website advisory panel to Dimitri, we are functioning as an advisory panel, not a subcommittee. We met after the website had been up for 3 months, we decided to kind of get together and just to take a look at what seems to be working well, where we might need some tweaks or some attention. So one topic we discussed was how to make sure the website is a dynamic and up-to-date place where people can easily find out what's going on at the library. And it seems to be functioning well. It probably, just in terms of sort of updates and new posts and news, probably at that meeting, we felt like we could probably start putting more emphasis on making sure some of the, that it's a dynamic website. We talked about encouraging more frequent updates for some of the major landing pages, such as children's, adults, and young adults. There's some issues have come up in terms of how often do we need to be going to Sterling, and the using up of the Sterling available hours in our contract is something that Dimitri discussed. And so some issues have been raised about how and where to post announcements or notices just to highlight new book displays or new book lists or events that we particularly want to highlight. We do have on the website the latest news carousel. Gay Allen, do you can you share? Let me share the screen, or can you share the website so we could look at it?
I will share it. Give me just a moment to pull it up.
Okay. So so for posting kind of announcements or notices, or gee, you want to see this new display we have on cookbooks, or there's some question as to whether the latest news carousel is the place for that to be done, or is there another place needed on the main web page? So yeah, so if you could scroll down to latest news, it's like a third or the fourth thing down. I actually have some questions about whether the latest news carousel here, it's a little funny in that some of the things don't fit on there, and this gray box comes up and covers some of the announcements here. So I don't know if that's something we could check in with Sterling about. It's interesting because on your screen, Gail, and I think the things fit better than on mine.
I have an enormous screen.
You have an enormous screen. Okay, because I just use my laptop screen. But so we did discuss, is this where we should be posting news, announcements, come see our, highlight, spotlight an event, and so there was some discussion about whether we might need something that's more of a spotlight box. If you could scroll back up to the top, Gail, or closer to the top. So Dimitri reached out to Sterling to ask about the idea of a spotlight box where instead of a scrolling carousel of blog posts where one pushes down the rest and they always stay there, but they don't and don't disappear. Instead, some kind of spotlight box in this area where you could put an announcement, a highlight, a spotlight on an event, a new list of books. So that was something that Dimitri reached out to Sterling. Dimitri, do you want to tell us what their reply was?
So actually both Danielle and I did reach out, and they said, if we wanted to have a more dynamic box, it would be to use the currency of measurement, 6 hours of service, 6 service hours that we have, that we'd have to utilize. If it were a more stagnant box or more not as dynamic, it could only be like 3 hours of service that we use. So they left it up to us to decide which option would work better for us. But I did use some examples, Kay, that you cited, like our neighbor libraries. So they know what we're talking about. It's just a matter.
Yep.
We can utilize either or, and we'll discuss that in our.
Yeah. So when I actually, just in terms of you're describing the two, when I saw what they wrote is that they're talking about when you say a dynamic box, they're talking about another scrolling carousel.
Yeah.
I almost feel like we don't really need another scrolling carousel, but instead something that's more about, you want to use the word static,
that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. I consider it like a spotlight or a highlights box that stays where it is. You post things that are of interest and you take them down when that's over. Let's say the new display on cookbooks. Well, when the cookbook display is gone, delete that and put in whatever the new display is, or when new book list on diversity and inclusion is available, put that in there. So it wouldn't necessarily need to be a dynamic scrolling box.
Yeah, that would be cheaper. It's just 3 hours.
Anna, you had your hand raised?
Yes, I have a question. Thanks, Kay, for the describing what a dynamic. I was curious about that, but I'm also wondering if, although the carousel you mentioned, there is a blog set up, so you just add to it by dates, right? So if you do that, you can program or schedule ahead of time. You can do that. You can just place a date, and then when the date hits, then it'll show up. So you can technically, you can plan for content. So that's one thing to think about. And if the more stagnant spotlight, I'm wondering if it will be the same setup. So it's not removing the content, but it's just adding with a different date. So I just have a question. I'm just not sure what is the behind the scenes. Do we know? If it's also a blog?
I don't know.
Danielle, is there a way to find out?
I just see from Sarah that she doesn't believe that we can schedule.
Yeah, that's what I think too. You can't schedule the latest posts. You have to manipulate them. We'd have to manipulate it ourselves.
Because if it's a blog format, you can have drafts with dates. So anyway, but we can.
Yeah, I don't think it's a blog format what they're talking about. The more stacked.
Okay.
Are you referring to the latest news carousel that we currently have, or are you talking about something, the new spotlight box that we're talking about?
I just want to understand what is happening with the carousel and to see if it was going to be the same format for the spotlight. That meaning that you keep the content because it just dates out. It just goes, you're not removing any items from the carousel, right, Danielle? It's just kind of aging out because of the dates, right?
I believe so. That is something that Sarah Brain works on.
So, but I mean, these are just technical things to see, but because it's not removing, it's just adding, and it may help.
Yeah, I mean, like, so it is several pages long now, so it will just keep.
Yeah. So
yeah, Sarah
anyway.
says, let's see, Sarah has another.
You have to manually update the homepage
carousel, yeah.
Yeah, so you can have it, you can do a batch. In other words, you can draft it in a batch and line it up, and you don't have to do it every day. You can just, but anyway, we can always talk offline about that.
And are you asking for us to establish an actual blog that is also part of our page? Because I think that's what you're talking about. And that you could do that way.
No, I was just trying to understand the behind the scenes of the current carousel. And it seems like it's several pages long, so that means it's a blog, so you're just adding to it, you're not removing. So I was wondering if the spotlight that Kay is referring to could follow the same format. That's what I'm trying to understand.
So we have a raised hand. Kay, can you see what that is, the raised hand?
Give me a moment.
I had briefly raised my hand by accident, although I did have a thought to share anyway. And
but
that
if I stop sharing, guys, that make life easier for the moment.
Sure. So, the latest news section has some of the functionality that we want out of this, but probably not all of it. It has some limitations. That being said, my thought is before we have Sterling, before we choose one of these options, it might be worth seeing if they could just create the most basic of mock-ups, even if it's just like a scribble on top of what the site right now, just so we can get a rough idea of what they're talking about. Because what we probably, I'm speaking for myself here, but what we probably don't want is to just have an identical carousel. It's the same thing as latest news, but just slightly different right above it. We want this to be visually different and really pop out when you see the page. So, if there's a way for Sterling just to do a really, really basic sketch of what this might look like without filling in any content or anything like that, that might help inform the process before
we can ask them that for sure.
Yeah, and also, Kim may be website savvy for library websites and have, clearly some thoughts about how to use a spotlight box or where. And I'm hoping that if we do install one, that it would be higher on the main page than the latest news, which is several layers low, or you have to do a fair amount of scrolling. So,
one other item for us to consider is, and this may be happening, so I'm just asking to have some certain consistency in the content. So, for example, Ellen puts out the newsletter every month. So, are all the announcements in the newsletter being also communicated or uploaded into the website and social media, or are we deliberately, dividing and just uploading certain notices on social media and certain on the website and certain? So I'm just trying to, I was looking at a newsletter and okay, this is great, but I don't know where it is in social media. I don't know where it is on the website. So I'm just curious if it's by design.
No. It's all in the event calendar. Every event that we have is listed in the event calendar. I usually take the text from the event calendar to put it into the newsletter. But everything that we advertise each month, because we are using Acibet as our sign-in for each of the events so we can keep track of numbers better, everything that's in the newsletter shows up in the event calendar.
Okay.
We also will, if there's something that we particularly want to push, we notice that numbers are low, that's when we use the new event thing and we give it a push there. So we also push it on our social media, AKA Instagram, as well as Facebook. So everything is there. Additionally, posters that are produced are on our internal boards. Sometimes we'll use the posters for Facebook and for Instagram, but everything does show up. The only thing that doesn't is if it's a news article. that doesn't usually show up on the website because there really isn't a place to put it.
Okay, so selected events are the ones that go in the carousel. That's what I'm hearing. So not all the events, and
not all
okay,
the.
so
There's too many things going on to do that.
Okay.
Literally.
Okay. So the best source is the newsletter and Asabet. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Which is the event calendar that's right at the top of the page.
May I also, as someone who's done a lot of work with not building websites, but developing content, is that when we do post on Facebook, Instagram, the YouTube channel, or the library notes, those posts should always have a link back to the website. So the website is the hub, in a way, from which everything radiates and goes back. That's kind of the concept that I have worked with in several different
and we definitely do that. Everything has got a link back into the event calendar.
Okay.
Anna, have you got your hand raised? Okay. Just the virtual hand. Great. Anything else under the website? All right, in that case, we'll move on to the equity and inclusion resolution. Does anyone have any updates on that front? Anna?
Yeah, a couple of quick updates. One is to remind everyone about the Needham Diversity Summit that is happening Sunday at November 14th. And I'll put the link if anyone wants to register. It's a really very robust schedule with different speakers. So I encourage you to consider it. And if you can, as a plan B, there'll be a recording on their YouTube channel. So that's one. Two is that the Diversity Book Club is going to be meeting on Thursday. Kim, at one point, we would love to have you as, just to check in with us. So see how that is working. Tom, I hope to see you Thursday. I don't know.
Yeah.
You can't? Oh, you will? Okay. And so we're just in the planning process. We have a new, half of the committee members are new from different communities within Needham. So we're very excited that we are able to diversify the planning committee. We have about 20 books to choose from. So everybody's excited about books to read about diversity and inclusion. So we'll probably for December, we'll have a more definitive schedule and agenda. And the last thing is I just became a member of the REAL Coalition, which is the Race Equity Access Leadership Group directed by the Needham Public Schools District. And is a group of parents, educators, and students that are working on equity issues in the town of Needham. So there is a great interest in the library as a source of connection and building community from the equity standpoint. Of course, the library already has that connection with many librarians in the high school and middle school and also at the elementary level. There's already that connection, but there's still room to grow. So those are my 3 updates.
Anna, I can report that the Teen Diversity Book Club had its first meeting this past month. They had 17 show up, and they are expecting that they're going to have just as many this month. And they've chosen their books, and they're giving us the thing, and we're giving it a push.
That's wonderful. I did mention that to the REAL Coalition. They were very excited about a student initiating the club.
Yes.
So. Yes,
great. Rick?
Yeah, I just like to follow up for Ann. Ann's really done exceptional work organizing the book club. We have a much more diverse group of people across town that are participating. And we're sort of going to, hopefully rebrand ourselves a little bit in terms of what we're going to call ourselves. And the number of choices are quite good. So, Anna, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, anything else on equity and inclusion? All right, in that case, we'll move on to marketing and outreach. Dimitri, were there any updates on that?
Don't have any right now, no.
Okay. In that case, let's move on to large crowded meetings. That's kind of an ongoing item. Gay Ellen, were there any updates to report on that?
The only updates is that at the moment, as far as I know, there will be no New Year's Needham celebration. So you do not have to put aside any money for children's programming for that this year. I do know that the Art in Bloom is very patiently waiting for an answer from us. I have talked to them and told them that we would definitely be redoing how they do their approach. If we are able to host them, that they would have to be a little bit more spread out, and that they may not be able to put up as many things as they have previously. We can do some redistribution, but they would really like an answer at some point real soon now, because they're in their planning mode right now and are probably going after funding for their operation.
Is no New Year's Needham official?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Carol?
I thought we had already gone over this business about the Art in Bloom, and that we could not give them a definitive answer until the time comes, because we have no idea what the health conditions will be in the first week in March when it typically happens. So I don't know how in the world we would ever do anything other than what we've already done, which is to tell them maybe, you know, if it's safe enough, we'll have some modified.
So Carol, yesterday we had our, I'll give it our committee meeting toward farther down in the committee, but we did talk about it, and you know, the committee, art and exhibition committee would like to try to do it this year with, as Gay Ellen was talking about, maybe a little more spaced out, maybe fewer exhibits, and perhaps, you know, discuss how many people are entering the library. But there was enthusiasm, I would say, for trying to accommodate Art in Bloom this year in some way.
I mean, I think it's a wonderful event and it brings so many people to the library, but on the other hand, it's a very crowded event for particularly the community room, which would be insane now.
So here's the thing. I have told them that in all likelihood, if we host it, they will not be able to do their reception. So that's probably a definite no. You'll need to figure out some other way to do your award ceremony, but it won't be at the library. We can move their demonstration area that they've been doing. We can move it upstairs into one of the front rooms, and we can set it up so that they can have people who can watch, and we can safely set up chairs so that we can spread things out. And it's just a case if we spread out a little bit more, it means that the weekend is going to be much fuller of tabletops being used so we can spread things out, which does mean that our own patrons will not be able to use all of our facilities. It's not something I recommend for them anyways that weekend with the noise levels, but it is possible that we can spread things out enough if we're willing to sacrifice more tabletops.
So I guess, Galen, you know, what level of detail are they looking for? Because I don't think anybody here, and I'm just trying to remember what we've approved in past meetings, I don't think anybody is opposed to, you know, to holding something, but you know, we can't promise that it's going to be normal.
I think what it comes down to is they just want to know, will they have a location here for their main event? If I thought we could switch it to another location in town, I would definitely suggest it. But there really isn't any location because Powers Hall, while it's definitely big enough for them to spread out, trying to get into that area is a nightmare because it only has a elevator and a staircase. And that's putting a lot of crowded people into one very tight area.
I mean, in my mind, you know, there's not a lot of downside to committing to doing something. You know, we can't really promise what it is, but, you know, if, you know, God forbid there's a really bad outbreak, then we're going to be subject to what the health board says anyway.
And they'll live with that.
if
They're
it's
just going to
if
have
it's
to live with it.
right. I mean, you know, if things are bad, then it is what it is. But you know, it's not bad to try to accommodate, in just my opinion.
I can tell you that I have told the children's department that they should plan on having all their activities in the community room through the spring. Simply because we can spread out the kids more. While yes, they are getting vaccinated, the little ones still aren't going to be. And we still have yet to pull together all of the things that are in storage in their usual spaces out yet. So I'm taking reservations as I can, but I'm really limiting what I'm putting into that room at the moment.
Kim, I was wondering if you have any kind of reaction, thoughts, opinion about this issue, which is hitting every library right now, about larger gatherings.
So I do. I mean, I think I want to hear more from my staff tomorrow about what this event typically entails, how many people are involved, what kind of spacing it takes up and all of that, because right now I have no understanding of how that works here. Okay. But I do think it makes sense to try to plan something, because as Rob said, if things are going sour in March, everything's going to be canceled. So I think it makes sense to plan for some type of event that clearly sounds like it's going to need to be modified from previous events. But I think everyone's comfortable with that. I'm not sure if we would, ask people to wear masks during that, even though currently they're optional. Things like that, I think, are all in our arsenal to make sure it's a safe event, whatever shape it takes. But again, I really would like to talk to my staff to figure out what we might be able to get done with the current restrictions, and thinking about, I'm sure winter might be a little rough, but booster shots are happening. More people are getting shots, as Gay Allen mentioned, with kids getting it. So I'm hoping that we'll be in a better place in March than we are even right now. And we're in a decent spot right now in Needham, it seems. So my initial read is that we would want to say yes and plan something, but make sure it's modified and be able to communicate to them effectively that it will be heavily modified. But I don't know whether, details wise, I definitely want to hear from my staff.
Yep.
Kim, if you have time tomorrow morning, I will come up and I will give you a complete story of how this works.
Thank you. We will touch base. Yes. Thanks.
Yes.
And Anna, you've got your hand raised?
Yeah. I'm wondering if there is a possibility to host this event outdoors. Is that no? And
No.
Are we tied to the March timeline?
We're tied to the March timeline, as this is the time that they usually do it. I actually have slipped them a week at their request, because they did not want to back up right into the school vacation week, because they are working with the school department to get all of the art that they're going to be using for the various things. So it's not something that can go outside. I wish it was, but it's not.
Yeah, I mean, the artwork would not be able to hold up to any kind of weather conditions.
No,
even
it wouldn't.
wind.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So the message is, the bottom line is, we'll do the best we can for you. And, you'll have to understand that there'll have to be, precautions and some modifications that will reflect the precautions. And, some of that will be dependent on what things are like when the time comes. But they can count on us to do whatever we're able to do for them. So This is the message.
All right, I will talk to Kim tomorrow, explain everything before we come up with a statement we will send to the nice people at Art and Bloom, AKA the Beth Shalom Garden Club.
And Kim, you had your hand raised?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly ask, what is the timeline for deciding something? And would you like us to talk and figure it out and then kind of write to you, maybe Rob and Kay, and you can disperse that information of what we're thinking as general plans? Or is it something that would need to wait for the next trustees meeting?
I don't think it necessarily needs to wait. So once you and the staff talk, we'd be happy to hear what your thoughts are, your decision.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure we need a formal vote to
Yeah.
to message it back to Arts and Bloom. All right. Unless there's anything else on that item, I'll keep on moving down the agenda. The next item to discuss is the staffing study that we'd like to do. You know, normally we'd be doing our strategic plan update, and Rick's portion of that is or will be the staffing. But given where we are with Kim joining and with a strategic plan kicking off in the near future, we thought that it might be good just to discuss generally the staffing study. Rick, did you have any thoughts for timing for that, for the types of things we might look into?
Yeah, I mean, as we've had these discussions for a while now, I think we at the library, the trustees, and I think have been concerned over the years of the preponderance of usage of part-time staff that limits in some ways limits the flexibility and doesn't allow the full-time staff to be able to do a number of things because there just aren't enough of them. So it's very cost effective for the town to staff the library that way, but it may not be optimum for library services. So the idea was to have a third party come in and look at how we staff the library. That not only how we staff it, but the nature of the staff that we have in regards to part-time and full-time. And then, look at all other libraries with the idea that that would then form a basis to having a discussion with the FinCom and the town in terms of, what the optimum staffing should be for the library.
Kim?
So I wanted to suggest that may not be a necessary expense for us. Staffing is certainly something that I plan on kind of looking at very closely as I come on board. I need to have some meetings with the finance folks and really get a handle on our budgeting and what was happening. Why are our part-timers not working 19 hours when they're budgeted for that, maybe, things like that. I have a lot of learning to do in that area, but I feel like I will be able to work with my management team to figure out what our real needs are and eventually nail down some scheduling in a way that I don't yet have a good picture of. But that's something that I'm very focused on.
Yeah. Anna?
Yeah, in addition to what Rick mentioned, I think the staffing study also wanted to cover not only the scheduling, but also the types of how functions are evolving. For example, the website, the website now may require different skills and different functions that may be being shared or assigned to different folks. So as the library services and the supports that we have in place evolve, how are those functions evolving? So there are many reasons. Of course, the scheduling is a key portion, but also the function and the roles of the staff.
So that also does sound like, my job too, like to a big extent, that is what I see my job as well. So I'm happy to do a study in the future, but I would really love to have some time to learn the library here and the staff and kind of what their skill sets are. I'm not under the impression that there are huge gaps in skill sets at the moment, but if there are, that's certainly an opportunity for us to do more training in-house. But I would like to get the time to sort of know that before we're hiring anyone to come in and do a study that may ultimately prove to be unnecessary. But I would like to ask that maybe we could table that.
Sure. And we've got a couple of hands up. Jay?
I would just add that we were fully aware of that, which was the reason we put the staffing study on hold until after you got here.
Yeah. And Carol?
I was just going to say this, the whole subject was really to provide funds to do such a study if you as new director thought it was helpful to have it. There was some backing to do it because there's nothing in the budget otherwise to do, to pay for a staffing study, not this year, not next year, probably. It takes a long time to get regular appropriated funding for that type of thing. So this is really a resource. I don't think you should think of it as something the trustees want to do. That's something that we've observed might be helpful. Certainly, in the past, that seemed like a really good idea, but we put everything on hold until the transition took place. And I think, it makes sense to wait. We're holding up on the new, you're holding up on the new strategic plan until you get your feet wet. And I think this is all part of the same thing. But I do feel that we should commit to provide, money for these types of things if they're needed. And I'm sure you'll call on us if you think that they are needed.
And, I reiterate all of those points. One of the, I think the values of whether it's an internal or external staffing study is just going to be providing data. Any changes in staffing, it's going to require a lot of advocacy by all of us. And the more data we can point to in terms of here's what our peers are doing, here's where things are going, here what's best practice, here's what's best in terms of preventing turnover, helps to bolster that case, because otherwise it's a tough sell to make significant staffing changes unless we can kind of set out the reasons. And again, this may be something that we can do internally, which is great. But if we need to, that's a tool in our toolbox to be able to have that study and have additional data to back up if need be.
Yeah.
Kim?
Yes. So I wanted to say, thank you for clarifying too on the intent with this on the agenda tonight. My understanding was, or just from reading it, that this was something you were maybe trying to decide today. And I wanted to make sure that, I was going to have some time to get to know everyone before we would, incur some costs that we might not need. But I do appreciate everyone's support and how eager you all seem to be to make sure that we're in the best shape possible. Like, that is definitely one of the things that attracted me to this position, was seeing the studies that, or, the charts that had already been put together of full-time versus part-time staff here versus similar towns. So yes, I really appreciate the ability to get this kind of funding if we need it. Is it appropriate to ask, is there a timeline that you'd like me to kind of report back about when I might like to bring this back up again, or?
Rick, did you have any thoughts? I mean, that the staffing has kind of been your bailiwick lately.
Yeah, well, I think really it was, if we were going, again, this is not going to happen this year or multiple, but this is the information that's useful for advocating to the FinCom. That's really what we want to do, is that it's hard to argue a case when you don't have backup information. And that's, we do know over a period of time, the town has, used part-time people, and we just don't know where we stand and how that's the most effective structure. And as we've said, things are changing in terms of the function of the jobs, and that's changed as well. So just a comprehensive look for when we do go in front of the FinCom or ask for staff.
Yeah, and it completely makes sense for Kim to kind of get a feel for her sense of where the staffing issues are or are not, and timeline. You should tell us what how long. It's only your second day, so you probably don't know yet, but you can gauge how long you feel like it will take before you have a sense of what the staffing issues or questions are.
Jay? You're in mute.
I would just say that this is the same issue relates to the strategic plan, which we put on hold and feel like you need time in order to get settled, to think about things and to form opinions. So we're in no rush to do that. We'll be looking to you for guidance as to what's an appropriate schedule for looking ahead towards that.
In the past, I mean, staffing has been one of the major areas of the strategic plan. So it may just be that this is just one element of that. All right, so I think that covers, perfect, thanks, Kim. That covers that agenda item. We've already discussed security cameras. Unless there are any additional updates, I can skip past that. But thanks again to Dimitri and Danielle for laying the groundwork on that. I know it's frustrating when the process changes, but hopefully your great work in saving, was it tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars on those quotes, hopefully the town will be able to realize those same savings.
About $100,000. So
$100,000. That's, you know what, that is a value add right there. FinCom would be proud. So the next item up, and there isn't really an update here, is the nomination for Council on Aging. Kate Fitzpatrick had reached out to me. I'll ping her again. I have not gotten any update on our nomination for that board. Which brings us to the Library, Art, and Exhibits Committee report, and I'll turn it over to Kay for that.
Okay, yes, so we just met yesterday. We kind of took a look at the year that has passed, and we felt that we had a pretty good, even though the library opened in June, and those 6 months have included, not even 6 months yet, have included quite a bit of diversity of artists. So that was a goal, and we felt like we've really had, we had our Black Lives Matter photographer, we have had our Latina Tamara Diaz painter, and right now the Needham Art Association has local artists, but and one of those is the award, the young Chinese American high school student Yutong Wang, who was awarded the scholarship this year, and her work, which was just installed by Gay Ellen, is a very interesting look on on the question of as an Asian American young woman trying to fit into the kind of American ideals of beauty and womanhood. So so we have been very pleased about bringing in a variety of different artists. Going forward for the year to come, we have some work to do. We have some openings in January and February. We have, we're hoping to do Art in Bloom in March, and then in April, no, okay, is that March or April?
It's March.
March, yes.
April is Open Studios.
And yes, and April's Open Studio. So those are there, but we have a variety, we brainstormed, came up with a variety of different potential artists that we will plan to reach out to, as well as organizations. One of my goals has been to try to get some indigenous Native American artwork that is from contemporary artists, which has been a bit of a challenge. So we're still trying to pursue that. And we have a short list of people and organizations that we plan to reach out to for the coming year. So that's kind of the summary. And if anybody has any thoughts or suggestions, we're all ears.
I have just one comment. First, the art exhibits have been, I think, wonderful. And the last one, whose the name I can't remember before the Needham Art, before the current exhibit.
Tamara Diaz.
Oh, Tamara Diaz. Yes.
I thought that was wonderful. What I thought was missing is that I looked at the exhibit and I didn't see any bio of the artist or any background information about her that ordinarily you would like to read when you're seeing an exhibit. And so
It was hard to get
I would
stuff.
suggest that when we have exhibits like that, it would be useful to have some sort of statement by the artist or other information about the artist that would go along with the artwork.
Jay, we usually do have that. It's just a case of this past one. It was like pulling teeth to not only get a statement. I actually had to go to her website to go yank something for our website. And we won't discuss how long it took me to get pictures out of her to put up on the website.
Okay.
Yeah, normally they have to give me something. But for this one, that didn't happen.
Okay.
But I do agree that going forward, if we encounter that again with an artist who's just not coming forward with her statement or anything, that, as you say, grabbing something off her website and posting that along with the photos would probably go, you know, if this happens again, we got to get something up there. I agree.
Yeah.
Did we sell any?
Not this month. Previous month, we had sold quite a bit.
What was her first? Pittman Bowles, the one who did the wildlife, the very fantastical wildlife paintings. She
sold two paintings, $2,500 piece and a $350 piece. So I will get to Dimitri the list of art books that I would like to have purchased with our 10%.
Great. Okay, thank you very much for that update. Anything else on the Art and Exhibits Committee?
I was just going to say how much I'm enjoying the virtual exhibits. I'm not, you know, I have been to the library very quickly in and out, but in general, I'm not lingering. So it's been wonderful to be able to, even just to get a preview of what's on the walls from the website. I think it's great. Very nice.
Gail and Daniela have been doing great work on that, getting that whole carousel of artwork up, and we thank them.
It's been an interesting learning experience. I think I'm finally getting the hang of what I got to do each month. It takes a couple hours just to pull it together, but once it goes up, it looks really fantastic.
It looks gorgeous, and I'm so glad that we have this beautiful website that we can do all this cool stuff with.
Yeah. They actually did the design the way I really wanted them to do it. So I am very pleased with what they came up with. I know one of the things that I asked for in my wish list was for a second one on the art page so that when we have two artists, I don't have to combine them.
Right.
But, you know,
I think we can do that, Gay. We'll set up some time.
We'll set up some time because that would be my wish list so we can do two artists at once. I've currently got the student artists combined with the Needham Art Association because that was the only way I could figure out how to show off her stuff.
We'll talk. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
Or we'll push it to Sterling.
Yeah.
Great. In that case, we can move on to the McIver Series. Carol? You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Nothing new to report. We have the two programs scheduled, and if I find another one that I can schedule, I will, but it's uncertain. So,
Carol, if you can give me the amounts for what it's going to cost for each and who the payment should be made out to, I can get started setting that up to put in the request for the money for you for it.
Okay, they're not till February and March. You know that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
So who's next? What's the next program?
The first one is going to be Notable Needhamites in February with Gloria Grice of the Needham History Center and Museum. I really enjoyed the racism and Needham, slavery and Needham program that she put on with the pastor last year. And also then the one after that is about the chemical mercury and its pollution and its characteristics, you know, how it comes about that it's in the world right now and what happens to it. And, you know, a certain amount about climate justice. Yeah. And that is in March.
Can't speak on the pollution and climate change one, but Gloria is a great speaker, so I'm sure it'll be a wonderful program.
Yeah, I think it will. Yeah. Those are two separate programs, right, Danielle? Yeah.
So for the Friends of the Library, I'll just report quickly. We had a program this past month with Dan Barbarisi, Chasing the Thrill, which is a book about treasure hunt out west. We had relatively low online turnout. I think it was maybe 18 folks. But subsequently, the video on the library's YouTube channel has rocketed up to about 350 hits, which is a record by about a factor of 2. The runner-up is about 150 hits. So, and there's even an extended argument in the comment section among treasure hunters. So we have provided a forum for debate and baseless criticism. So we can feel good about that. Jay, did you have any updates, any other updates from the Friends?
Not really. They had a successful book sale in October. It was nice for those of us who hadn't seen one of those in quite some time. It was a pleasure to go to the library and see a book sale. I think they sold around earned around $7,000 from the book sale. And they have a very, I think, an excellent list of events that they're going to, program events over the next year. Some, with some, pretty impressive list, including the best-selling author Anita Diamond, a couple events that Brian O'Donovan from GBH is going to be hosting. So, that's basically the news.
Are they online or in person?
Well, the plan is, I think, starting in January for them to be in person, but I suppose that's to be
actually determined. The January one will be by Zoom because the author lives out in Colorado. But after that, I believe we're going to try to do live events. I don't know if we can make it hybrid or not. I need to think a little bit more about how we're going to be able to broadcast something like that out. And also will depend on who I have available to do that for the Friends on their events. I got to take a look at my own schedule and see when I'm available.
Okay. Thanks for that update, Jay, and looking forward to the Brian O'Donovan events. Those should be fun. Joan, do you have any updates from the LFN?
The only thing is that our newest brochure went out, our newest fundraising brochure. So it goes to 2 precincts in Needham, plus our list of repeat donors. And it just kind of gives an update of what's been happening, and it always comes with a donation envelope, which this doesn't have. And that's it for the foundation for now.
What precincts did it go to this year, Joe?
It went to G&H.
Could is it possible for me to have a copy of that for the archives?
Why didn't I get 2 then?
You got 2?
No, why didn't I?
Oh, because I go through all the lists to make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay, thank you.
That's why. So that's good. I did a good job. Yes, we have several extras, so no problem.
Thank you very much.
Joan, I was just going to say, really, kudos. It really looks nice. Mine arrived. I'm in that precinct G.
Oh, okay.
So
thank you.
I only got one also. So.
Oh, good. So I'll pass it on to Steve Schusterman because he did the brochure for us.
Yeah, he did a good job. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And thanks. I believe it's Rick who's been doing the LFN Facebook posts, which really helps to amplify the library's Facebook message and get it out to even more people.
Thank you.
That brings us to the end of our formal agenda. We have trustee comments. Anything that anybody would like to share? Anna?
I think I believe Kim, you and I didn't have a chance to, I was not able to participate in the formal interview process. But I was pretty confident hearing from my colleagues here in the trustees that we are on to a great start with you as a new director, and I just wanted to make it public that you have our support, and it's going to be a collective effort, not only the trustees but the staff and all those who are part of the library one way or another. So we're excited to have you on board, and you know where to find us, and we're excited about your ideas and your and what you're looking to do, and we're here. So
great. Thanks, Anna. I think any other trustee comments? I would certainly reiterate what Anna said. Kim, we're certainly excited to have you on, and it's going to be a busy next year, but an exciting one. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
All right. I think I heard. All right, there we go. I'll run through the roll call. Jay.
Aye.
Rick. Tom.
Aye.
Anna.
aye.
Kay.
Aye.
Carol.
Aye.
And myself, aye. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next month, and hopefully in the interim.
And I wanted to apologize.